With Mullins, obviously he had a big rise over the spring and the summer. You obviously moved him up quite a bit in the rivals rankings from where he was. What maybe in your eyes were the biggest factors in his rise this spring and summer? Was it just the fact that maybe you hadn't seen him as much? Did he add a lot to his game? What was maybe behind the meteoric rise he had?
I don't think a lot of people were super familiar with him until this summer. Now, I'd seen him before, but we had him ranked, I think, outside of the 100 somewhere. I think he grew a couple inches in the time between I saw him. That helped. Became a much better shooter, too. He's always a guy that could kind of finish at the basket. He's real comfortable finishing through traffic, especially for a guy that still needs to add muscle the way he does. But he shot it real well this summer, and he kind of looked like that three-level scorer. He's got a great motor. That kind of kicked in. I think it's maturity. It's the jump between a kid's sophomore summer when they're heading into their sophomore year and then heading into their sophomore summer heading into their junior year, or the junior heading into their senior year can oftentimes kids can grow 3 inches. Kids can become different players. I think it's the biggest jump typically. And I think you saw Mullins kind of be a product of that, where he looks like in almost every area of the game a more confident and different player than he did a year ago.
Is he in the McDonald's All-American conversation in your eyes now?
I think he definitely will be. I think now he might be, like Boogie Fland was last year. Your listeners will be familiar with him. He's kind of a back end. There'll be a debate whether or not he'll get in, but his name will be mentioned in those meetings. I'm almost positive.
Obviously Indiana's got him, I think, next weekend for an official visit along with Eric Reeby and Trent Sisley. I think all three are going to be on campus, but you mentioned he's kind of a must-have prospect. Why do you feel that way from a Indiana recruiting perspective? And what schools? I mean, you hear obviously UConn, Kentucky. There's obviously North Carolina's in there. Duke, I think, is offered, but I'm not sure that he's set anything up there with a visit. Where do things stand in your eyes in terms of his recruitment in the schools that are maybe the most likely to land him?
I've long thought Indiana was the favorite there. I mean, if all the pieces add up here, they've got the money to do it, which is important. He's from an area of the state where Indiana typically has success recruiting. Their relationship there is as strong as can be because they were on him first. Like they were before anybody else knew. When I still thought he was the number 120 player in the country or whatever, Indiana was recruiting him hard, and then he has this big year. So if all that stuff counts, and it does, Indiana should be the favorite here. Now, why do I think he's must get is for that reason too. Is the way the last cycle ended with them losing McNeely and losing out on Fland, and it looked like Indiana was setting up to have a massive class last year. It all kind of fell apart at the end. The season on the court doesn't go well, and everything is kind of trending in a direction that you don't want it to. So this is a chance to save some public perception, maybe inspire some optimism heading into the season. Now, if they get him and they tank and have a bad year, it's not going to matter anyway, because then Mike Woodson's seat gets hot no matter what. So that matters more than anything. But any chance you get to score a PR win when grumbles are starting to happen, you need to take. And this feels like a really good opportunity to win a recruiting battle against some heavy hitters and prove that Indiana under Mike Woodson is capable of standing toe-to-toe with these guys and slugging it out.
Is he a plug-and-play, like from day one guy that's going to come in and play a ton of minutes? I mean, a lot of programs now with freshmen, it's harder maybe than it was 5 or 10 years ago to get on the court immediately. But in your eyes, how impactful can he be from day one?
Yeah, I think just because of the shooting ability and the length and what he can give you on defense will allow him to get minutes right away. Now, will he be a starter star? Maybe not. He might be a 2-year player until that kicks in. But will he be a rotation player, possibly a starter? Yeah, I think the talent's there for it. He does enough things to keep himself on the court. I think when you get guys like Mullins who, their calling card is kind of being able to score the ball and shoot it. A lot of times when they're young, they don't do other things real well. There's not a lot of peripheral talent, but there is with him. He's a pretty good positional rebounder. He's going to defend enough to keep himself on the floor, and that's kind of what you have to do as a freshman, especially in the Big Ten. So yeah, I think he can play some big minutes and be a factor for the Hoosiers right away if he decides to go there.